Hello, this is the September 2012 video edition of the Iowa General Fund Monthly Revenue Memo. My name is Jeff Robinson, Senior Fiscal Analyst for the Iowa Legislative Services Agency, the nonpartisan support agency of the Iowa Legislature. This video will cover Iowa net general fund revenue for the first 3 months of cash fiscal year 2013. I will also review the final general fund net revenue numbers for fiscal year 2012. Over the months of July, August, and September, Iowa net general fund revenue increased $123.2 million, up a significant 8.8% compared to the same 3 months last year. September ended on a weekend this year, and that disadvantaged fiscal year 2013 receipts when compared to last year. But a deposit timing issue related to withholding tax worked in the opposite direction and will have a similar size revenue impact. So 8.8% year-to-date growth is a fair representation of the first 3 fiscal months this year. Individual income tax revenue increased 6.5%, and sales and use tax increased 3.7% over the 3 months. Tax refunds are not a significant issue during the first part of the year, but lower refunds are currently contributing about 14% of the growth in net revenue this fiscal year. Let's now have a look at net receipts by month over the most recent 13 months. For the following charts, the underlying numbers have not been adjusted for any calendar or processing issues. Revenue increase months are colored blue, decrease months are red. Net general fund revenue has now increased 9 of the past 10 months, with revenue increasing a strong 10.6% over the most recent 6 months. Individual income tax revenue is the most significant source of general fund revenue, and over the past 6 months, gross individual income tax revenue increased 6.6%. Sales and use tax revenue has shown a similar pattern to individual income tax, with 11 growth months in the past year and 7% growth over 6 months. Corporate tax growth has been significant for more than a year, with increases exceeding 30% in 7 of the past 12 months. The most recent 6 months have produced 26.2% growth in gross corporate revenue. Iowa's fiscal year runs from July 1 through June 30th, and that period represents what can be referred to as the cash fiscal year. However, proper accounting dictates that revenue that is deposited and refund checks that are issued after June 30, but are the result of economic activity that occurred on or before June 30, must be credited to that previous fiscal year. The process of accruing accounting transactions back to the previous fiscal year ends September 30, and it is only after that date that we get the final net revenue picture for fiscal year 2012. Fiscal year 2012 general fund revenue, net of tax refunds, totaled $6.311 billion, an increase of $412 million, or 7%. Fiscal year 2012 is even more remarkable considering that a legislative change redirected $106 million in cigarette tax receipts away from the general fund starting fiscal year 2012. Without that change, receipts would have grown 8.8% for the year. This table provides revenue growth by major revenue source. Note that for this table, revenue is adjusted for accruals and refunds are subtracted from gross receipts. This provides a true look at net revenue by major source on a fiscal year basis. We can see that the individual income tax and sales and use tax both grew at mid-double-digit rates, good growth by historical standards. Corporate income tax net of refunds grew by an astounding 70%, and accounting for 42.6% of the year's dollar growth. The category of other taxes experienced the only decline at negative $77.2 million. However, cigarette tax receipts are included in other taxes, and as mentioned earlier, $106 million of cigarette tax receipts were deposited outside of the general fund for the first time in fiscal year 2012. Without this change, revenue from other taxes would have also been positive for the year. The March Revenue Estimating Conference, or REC, revenue projection for the year was $6.053 billion. So the final numbers were $258 million above that projection. This table provides the net revenue differences by major projection item between the REC projection and the revenue that actually arrived in fiscal year 12. In dollar terms, most of the excess was due to better gross tax receipts than projected, combined with lower tax refunds than estimated. In summary, the first 3 months of cash fiscal year 2013 have shown very good early growth on a cash basis at 8.8% year over year. With the conclusion of the accrual process, much of the growth over the 3 months was attributed back to fiscal year 2012. Fiscal year 2012 concluded with $412 million in general fund revenue growth, $258 million above projections. I thank you for your time and your interest in Iowa General Fund revenue. Goodbye, and please check out the next monthly video memo in early November.